Continuing now with our lead story, analyzing President Trump's speech and opposition to him. Before the speech was even given, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi said this.
The president has said about himself, he said nobody knew how complicated health care would be. He obviously didn't know that, but he also doesn't know what the budget is about.
Now that criticism again coming from Mrs. Pelosi, who famously said this about Obamacare in 2010.
We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
I love that. Joining us now from Denver, the governor of Colorado, John Hickenlooper. So as a Democrat, how do you assess President Trump's speech last night?
Well, it was certainly a different tone than we've seen before, and I think a welcome tone in that sense that he really did seem to be including people. There wasn't the attacks on the media as being an enemy of the people. He really did seem like around job creation and even immigration, which he amplified today, but that it looked like he was reaching out to people that maybe he didn't agree with and encouraging them to kind of join him at the table and begin negotiating some of these issues. You know, I think if the president is going to honor the complexity of these issues and, you know, the core values that so many of us hold dear, I think we're ready to sit down and work on those issues.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's best for the country if you do. But it's interesting because it sounds like you thought he gave a pretty good speech last night. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I think the tone, well, again, there wasn't a lot of detail.
Not specifics,
but the tone was,
right.
Yeah, the tone was very different than anything we've seen. And I think that's, you know, welcome. I mean, the level of volatility that we've seen up until now, I mean, I don't see how it's sustainable. So, and hopefully, you know, hopefully this will mark the beginning of a new consistency that we can really get down to work on these issues, right?
Now, you just heard the vice president who was adamant that there's not going to be really any pathway to citizenship for illegal aliens who are here and have not been causing trouble while they're here. However, there are going to be crackdowns on sanctuary cities, Denver being one of them, the capital of Colorado. Now, are you fearful that you'll lose some federal money, and how will you rebut that if it indeed does happen?
Well, I don't think so. I think, you know, if somebody commits a crime in Denver and they don't have proper documentation, generally, and I know there have been some screw-ups on this, but generally that name goes immediately over to ICE. And
so you don't have a problem with cooperating with ICE as the governor of Washington State does, for example?
Well, if you're talking about violent criminals, absolutely. I think that's, you know, part of the whole immigration thing is the system is so challenging, and maybe this is the time that we can actually get Congress to, you know, find the compromises, and of course securing the border. I mean, you know, countries come with borders. There's no question about that. But we also have to make sure that we get, you know, that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, that we, you know, that we have an ID system that works, but at the same time,
yeah, and the vice president
that a lot of these guys have
that.
jobs.
Finally, Jeff Sessions, new attorney general, not a fan of legalized marijuana. Roll the tape on that.
I, as you know, am dubious about marijuana. States, can pass whatever laws they choose, but I'm not sure we're going to be a better, healthier nation if we have marijuana being sold at every corner grocery store.
So he says, the Attorney General does, that federal law overrides state law, and he's not going to be nearly as liberal as the Attorney Generals under President Obama. Have you thought about that, and how do you react?
Well, certainly we've been thinking about it and trying to figure out what our choices are. You know, I opposed it. Right? I was openly against it, and, you know, 55 to 45, our voters put it into our Constitution. I took a solemn oath to support our Constitution. And so I'm in that funny position where I've got to try and make this work. And, you know, we've made a lot of progress. You got to admit the old system was a train wreck. So now we have anecdotal evidence, and I think soon numerical evidence that there are less drug dealers on the streets, and they don't care who they sell to.
Yeah,
right?
But you know what?
We didn't see a spike.
You know what did happen, though, interestingly enough, was that a flood of homeless people and poor people came into Colorado because now they have easy access to the intoxicants. And I don't know how that's impacting, but last time I was in Denver in September, and I used to work there, you might know that, at Channel 7 in Denver, I noticed it. I noticed it. I mean, downtown Denver, there's a lot of people that are just stoned morning till night because they can get this stuff. I don't know. I think that's what the Attorney General is talking about.
To be clear, I mean, Colorado, U.S. News and World Report came out on Monday. We have the #1 economy in the country. When you're growing that fast, you have all kinds of homelessness.
Yeah,
we had that long before we legalized marijuana, and every state that's got a growing economy right now, including Texas, has real
challenges. Shouldn't there be more jobs? If the economy's growing, there should be jobs. They shouldn't be homeless. Look, you know that. If you want a service job in Denver, you can get it like that.
But we don't have any evidence that this is the result of marijuana. There are a lot of other social issues that are around homelessness and addiction.
All right, Governor. Always a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks for taking the time.
Nice talking to you.